The Wizarding World has introduced us to some of the most amazing and astounding creatures that we could ever imagine. We've seen it be taken to the next level with the Fantastic Beasts franchise, which is one of the few positives we can take from that ongoing story. However, the creature I want to talk to you all about today is manifested directly from a certain practice of dark arts. An Inferius, or known collectively as Inferi, is a dead body, a reanimated corpse that will do the bidding of the dark wizard who has raised it. In today's video, I'm going to explain the origins and history of the Inferi, their strengths, weaknesses, and the dark magic behind their reanimation, an art known as necromancy. It's a video I've really put a lot of work into making, so I really hope you all enjoy it. Welcome back to the world of Harry Potter, everyone. This is the Inferi Explained. Okay everyone, so let's begin with the creation of the Inferi. An Inferius, as I said in the video's introduction, is a dead body. It has no brain activity. The creature is under the sole control of a wizard. It's a complete animation, a zombie-like puppet, to give a clearer picture. Now, not to jump franchises, but if you've ever watched Game of Thrones, they are very comparable with wights, with no conscious thought of their own. Inferi are created from an extremely dark and complex magical practice known as necromancy. Now, necromancy is only deemed successful depending on the results the person casting the magic is actually seeking. Albus Dumbledore deemed necromancy as a branch of magic that has never worked, most likely due to the corpses having no mind of their own, nothing but a drone of what was once human. And speaking of what was once human, any corpse that was human is eligible to become an Inferi, and that's whether they died yesterday or 100 years ago and are almost in a skeleton-like state. They can still be put under control. Now, as you can imagine, it may be best to have those whose deaths have been more recent, as they could be a lot stronger with flesh still on their bones. As expected, the caster must seek out the dead body in order to create the Inferius. This means a trip to the graveyard, some digging, and then the dark magical art can begin. Basically guys, unless you kill the person yourself, if you want more than one Inferius at your control, well, bring a lot of digging equipment. And if we just go back to what Dumbledore said about necromancy being a branch of magic that has never worked, that may have been the case over a century ago when it was an area that he and Gellert Grindelwald looked upon. It's evident that despite their incredible power, knowledge and skill, Albus and Gellert struggled to get anywhere close to successfully creating an Inferi. Gellert himself, unbeknownst to him, mistakenly believed that he could raise an army of Inferi with the Resurrection Stone, which, come to think of it, was possibly one of the main reasons he and Albus were even seeking out the Deathly Hallows in the first place. Now, I believe that Albus was a person who could not pursue knowledge on any type of magic that he was not convinced was pointless, especially if he had experience with it himself. Now, the Inferi, as I've said, were once human. They don't change in appearance. They are still based upon the humans that they once were. The clear way to tell if one is dealing with an Inferi is by their eyes, which are completely cloudy in appearance, devoid of any form of life. Although they appear as if they are decaying and almost falling apart in some stages, once reanimated, Inferi are forever protected and preserved by dark magic, meaning they will no longer decay. They are also extremely strong, very fast, and highly agile, more so than they ever were as humans. So strong are the Inferi that once they have grabbed hold of a human, it is merely impossible to break out of their grasp without the assistance of magic, which isn't all effective anyway. Due to them being a reanimation of something that once was, the creatures cannot feel pain from magical attacks like slashing or repulsion spells like stupefy. They can also not be hurt from any physical trauma either, so punching, kicking and any form of fighting them is useless. The Inferi may be cursed to respond lethally if disturbed, to kill indiscriminately, and to undertake perilous jobs for its master. Its limitations are, however, quite obvious. It has no will and no brain of its own, and will not be able to think its way out of unforeseen trouble. As a warrior or guardian with no regard for its own safety, however, it has many uses, as I've mentioned. It is not known if they can speak, but if it's possible for necromancy to allow the caster to manipulate every part of their bodies, it could be feasible, if the Inferius in question was not too long dead, that they could be able to speak their master's intentions. Despite their incredible strength, it does not mean that they don't have any weaknesses. Inferi are creatures of the dark. They are creatures of coldness and decay. They severely dislike light and warmth. So combining light and warmth with the fact that there is no spell to prevent dead flesh from burning means any powerful pyro spell would be immensely effective in combating Inferi. Because of this reason, the creatures are normally enchanted by their master in order to prevent their demise. The best example of a defense against Inferi was in the Half-Blood Prince, when Harry is completely overwhelmed and it certainly seems like he's about to die. Albus Dumbledore intervenes. Severely weak, he summons all of his strength and casts the Firestorm spell, repelling and even destroying some of Voldemort's corpse creatures. And speaking of Voldemort, in that cave, had he shown his former headmaster how he had once again pushed the boundaries of magic beyond any normal expectation, proving that he could successfully perform a feat of magic that Albus truly believed didn't work, is quite a frightening realization, and in saying that, a realization that I didn't even think of until making this video. How Dumbledore must have felt knowing that Voldemort truly appeared to have no limits as to what he could achieve. There were rumours during the First Wizarding War that the Dark Lord would use Inferi, but nothing was concrete. As awful as it sounds, Voldemort was very clever in terms of what he did with the bodies of those he killed. He knew he wanted to create an army of Inferi, and we all know he wasn't going to start digging up graves anytime soon. Any person that the Dark Lord murdered, well, maybe not every person, but a vast majority of them, were transported to his cave when killed. As the numbers built up in the hundreds as the years went by, the Dark Lord decided to create his army of Inferi, successfully using necromancy to his advantage. His army would reside at the bottom of the lake, cursed to rise from their dormant state should a human hand touch the water and kill the intruder who stood upon the small island in the centre. The first known victim of the Inferi was Regulus Black, who had attempted to steal the locket of Salazar Slytherin. Overwhelmed with a severe thirst after drinking the Emerald Potion, Black was overpowered and dragged to his death at the bottom of the lake. Regulus died as an unknown hero, with none of his family, not even Sirius, ever discovering what happened to him. The chilling realization of the situation is that when Harry Potter and Albus Dumbledore visited the cave and were attacked by the Inferi, Regulus Black was most likely one of the corpses that participated in the attack. Despite their incredible strength and being impervious to pain, and also quite high in numbers, Voldemort never used his army of Inferi during the Battle of Hogwarts, perhaps finding it too difficult to transport them all from the cave, or too difficult to enchant them not to attack the hundreds of Death Eaters and creatures that followed him. However, in saying that, if there's one thing that Voldemort is better at than most, it's overcoming obstacles. Although Inferi are extremely similar to zombies in a lot of ways, J.K. Rowling chose to use Inferi over the better known name of zombie for a number of reasons. Zombies are part of African myth, part of voodoo rituals, and even though they are also reanimated corpses, in order to create a zombie, the caster must use part of their soul. This conflicted Rowling's Horcrux story, as Voldemort's soul already had purpose in the events of the book, so using this method to create zombies, which are also not part of British folklore, just seemed unnecessary and a huge contradiction to her already planned route for the Dark Lord. So as you can see everyone, just another example of how well JK thought everything out, having a reason for everything. Now, it wouldn't be too out of the ordinary to assume that necromancy was an illegal practice, seeing as it is the art of raising the dead, but practicing dark magic is not illegal. That's the counter-argument. There's no ministry stance on the subject, most likely due to the fact that many believed necromancy was unproven and a feat of magic that would just not work. There have been books published on the practice, most notably the Nightshade Guide to Necromancy, but as of today, we still don't know and may not ever know the legalities of this practice. And with that being said, everyone, that is today's video on the Inferi. I really hope you enjoyed it, but here is my question. Do you believe Regulus Black was one of the Inferi that attacked Harry Potter and Albus Dumbledore in Voldemort's cave? Let me know in the comment section below. Thank you all again, and I'll see you all in the next video. Thank you so much for watching. I truly appreciate your support. Everyone, notifications of uploads are more important than ever, so please, if you haven't already, turn those notifications on to make sure you're notified the moment my video goes live. Making videos is what I love to do. It's my dream and my passion. However, it does cost time and money to produce this content, so if you have $1 to spare to support me on Patreon in exchange for some exclusive unseen content, then you can click the Patreon link below or at the end of this video. Please only support me if you can afford it. And make sure to follow me on Instagram at InstaDNJ and on Twitter at PotterFolklore. Check out my other videos appearing on screen, and please make sure, most importantly, to hit that subscribe button. Thanks again everyone, and please have a great day.